We need an establishment person because we have to worry about the down ballot elections, because we need support in Congress in order to have a president doing things. If you have a President Sanders that has a Republican Congress still headed by Mitch McConnell, and then they're also even fear-mongering on potentially flipping the House back to Republicans, they're saying that Biden is the safer choice. Where do you see that argument, first off, in its validity? And number two, is Bernie Sanders' potential in being in that spot, does it really hurt down ballot candidates any?
Right, okay, let's start there, right? It doesn't hurt down ballot because it's a good assumption that you're going to get different people to come to the polls to support someone who's an outsider like Bernie Sanders. And that's the difference, right? In the general election, you're looking for that marginal voter who maybe would have voted, maybe not, or that voter who says that, oh, finally they're gonna do something for us, and so I'll show up. Because, I mean, we really are at about 50% of the population that actually participates in the voting process. So in order to win, the Democrats have to overperform with their base, but they also have to pick up some of those marginal voters on the edges. And Joe Biden is not going to inspire that. Bernie Sanders would inspire that because of his message that speaks to the material conditions of people, of everyday people. Now to the first question, I think I honestly, I think that kind of sums it up, right? So Joe Biden is going to be a shortfall. He's not going to inspire, and Bernie Sanders, he absolutely would inspire. So this idea that he's not going to, or that he's going to hurt the down ballot tickets, it's really just the establishment pushing this red scare of him being a socialist, a democratic socialist. They're still peddling this when the data is coming out, is showing us that the population, they're coming to terms with the word socialism, and they're definitely coming to terms with Medicare for all.
What do you do to calm the fears of those establishment voters, because they're buying into it? And I get he may get those offshoot voters, but then the hardcore ones that you mentioned, I maybe even answered it earlier when you were talking about he has to pick up the boomer population, but and because those are people that are potentially will not vote down ballot. At least that's what I'm saying. I guess I'm portraying their question.
Their intention. So if we think that they won't participate down ballot, then we really have to ask the question if we have irreconcilable differences with the Democratic Party, right? If there is a generational divide, there's somewhat of a racial divide, but I think it's really ideological, pure and simple. If you believe that the government should do something for the people, then you're going to be voting for Bernie Sanders in this case. Right. If you believe everything is fine and just the way it is, you'll be voting for Joe Biden. And the reason I put it in terms of that is because if you really explore where these people get these ideas from, as far as Joe Biden's electability is coming straight from mainstream media. They've been indoctrinated. They have been subject to all of the hundreds of millions of dollars of free advertisement, earned media that the media gave Joe Biden over the weekend. I mean, they believe it as a statement of faith without any evidence. I don't know how you deprogram that. We just kind of have to decide whether or not we have irreconcilable differences at that point.
Yeah. Really fast, I just want to end on what might potentially be a bit of a positive point. I'm casting about and I'm thinking, what are some big things that could shake up this race? And the first thing I think of is a two-man debate between Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. Oh, yeah. We've talked about Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. How does Biden stand up when there's no one to hide behind on that stage and it's just him and Bernie?
Yeah. So in terms of the audience, in terms of the listening audience, what we're going to find is that we've changed the paradigm of Democratic primaries. And what I mean by that is there's going to be celebration from the audience, from the establishment, from centrists, the more conservative that Joe Biden sounds, the more he rejects the vision of Medicare for all, college for all, canceling student debt, the more conservative he is, the more they're going to celebrate him. And I think that that's going to shift, kind of fundamentally shift the nature of the Democratic Party going forward. In most primaries, you go to the left in order to win the primary, or you go to your base. Like if you're in the right, you go to the far right to satisfy your base. Here in the Democratic primary, we see you're going to have to go towards the right and become more conservative. And I think that that's going to really kind of delineate how good or bad the debates are. Like, it's how much will the Democratic Party base accept the more conservative values of Joe Biden? I think they're going to accept it with open arms. Now, on the flip side, will Joe Biden have the cognitive capacity to go 3 rounds with our guy? I honestly don't believe he will.
Okay, well, we have like 2 weeks to find out. I think March 15th is the next debate. Benjamin Dixon, journalist and host of the Benjamin Dixon Show. Thank you so much. Had a lot of fun talking politics with you.
Thanks for having me.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.